things, and that I think you have done it. So once again, I thank you all the office bearers and those who are listening this session on avenues of joint social action in social work. Uh, I'll speak for 15 minutes only, as the time is allotted or decided by the ISPSW. But my talk will be a kind of introspection at this level. Means there are many contradictions we people are making, the social work professionals are making, and whole profession is not yet recognized 100%. On this ground, definitely I'll put some of the points, and at the end, definitely I'll try to say something as a part of these avenues. What are the avenues? Maybe individual, maybe in the group, or maybe jointly. So this will be the nature of my presentation. Firstly, I'll start with the meaning of social action. Now the word social action is at central of all this discussion during 2 hours. So I think I should start with the same word, social action. We all are aware that social action is such efforts, especially the group efforts, through which we expect something to bring about changes or resolve the matters at least to some extent, or to solve the social problems, maybe general or specific. Now, if we decide to criticize on this from various angles, definitely we can see some of the things or some contradictions many of the people they are making. For example, to solve the issues like social problems, we'll take example of some of the problems, definitely, whether we are touching to those issues or not, maybe during the fieldwork, maybe during the teaching, or maybe while taking actions. Poverty is one of the, I think, biggest issue that is facing by many of the people since long back. On this ground, we can discuss that whether we are touching to this minimizing the severity of this issue of poverty by putting our efforts maybe through action, or maybe through fieldwork, or maybe by teaching, through teaching. I think the answer may be, I think we are doing very less what we are expecting. So this is the contradictions. In case of employment, the same thing we can see. In case of issue like migration, the same thing. Crime is always increasing. Corruption is definitely increasing. Crime against women is definitely increasing, no doubt in that. Then discrimination on various grounds is continued since long back. The education, maybe the quality education we are expecting, many people are expecting. The government is putting their efforts. We people, NGOs are also putting to us the efforts towards this, making education qualitative. But as on today, I think the education is not becoming as a quality or qualitative education. Then environmental issues. So these are the social issues. But through the social work, maybe through social action, or maybe teaching, through fieldwork, we are not touching to such kind of issues, and therefore the prosperity in our society is definitely away from us, and we are the cause for that, why prosperity is away from us. But each and everyone is expecting to have the prosperity as soon as possible, but that is away from us. And the reason may be the same, that the we people also, the people like us, they are making contradictions to work on particular issues. They are keeping objectives of working or functioning aside, and therefore also I think the prosperity is away from us. And the people like us, the social work educators, and of course the social work professionals, should keep in mind that without making such kind of contradictions, if we focus, concentrate on the particular things, what is the aim of social action, I think definitely the situation will not be away from us and we can see the prosperity. Then another contradictions we have. So that is, we have to achieve the goal of social development. We all have to achieve because social development is at center. Means all the activities, all the efforts are going to lead for this social development, social prosperity, social transformation. And there are bases, there are mediums through which we can achieve this social development. And one of the mediums maybe I think legislatives, social efforts, efforts in the field of health, efforts that will lead for bringing about progress in the field of economics. But again, if you see the same thing, you will be saying that we are not touching to this area or aspects related to this legislatives. We are not keeping concern with this legislative matters. Very indirectly, our efforts are going on, and maybe because of that, whatever the things we are expecting or to achieve the aim of social development is away from us. Likewise, economic development, economic progress, the same thing is happening through social work, through field work, through teaching. We are not covering these aspects many times, whereas we are sufficiently putting our efforts towards handling societal issues and health issues, but very less this social legislations or maybe economic growth and development, we are not touching to this subject. So these are the contradictions we people are making, or people like us they are making, and therefore though the social action is continued from various uh, angles, will say, I think it is not reaching up to the expected result, and the results may be there. So this kind of reasons may be there, I think, behind why we are not seeing the prosperity in the society. Another thing we can say that another aim of this social action may be, I think, desirable changes. What people are expecting, the people in the society, they are waiting for getting many things, but maybe through social work we could not reach up to fulfillment of most of the needs of people what they desires. So this is biggest contradictions again, because so this is the right time to introspect on this ground, because we have almost completed 80 years. We have spent 80 years in our social work profession. At this stage, definitely we can discuss on this achievements, whether we could achieve or not, and if there are some contradictions, definitely we can trace upon, and if something is possible, definitely we can do it. So these are the things. Then social justice, what is the situation of social justice? Justice is increasing day by day. We are definitely trying our level best to give justice to the people, but that justice is very superficial. The people should enjoy with their rights, but I think many of the people, they are not enjoying. However, we are putting our efforts towards it, but our efforts are very superficial, and maybe because of this, definitely the prosperity or whatever we are expecting through social action, it is away from us. Our social action is definitely very superficial. And I remember the comment of Professor Dr. Kanakraj, what he mentioned in 2-3 days in the group. I think our joint social action is already failed. And I think I agree with this statement made by Kanakraj also, because the fact is like that. Then social action should influence many of the things, many of the areas in which, because of influence of social action, we can see the changes. And those areas may be, again, the social legislation. Social legislation are always for the betterment of society, betterment of particular target group in the society. But though there are many social legislation working for this betterment of society, but society is still suffering. The injustice is going on. The severity may be more or less, but definitely it is going on. Then public administration, we are not that much concerned with this public administration, whereas through social action, this public administration should influence. We should challenge, we should demand for the public opinion that will lead for change. So that is also hardly happening. And all this should happen in favor of people, but many times our activities are in isolation and they are not leading for this prosperity or maybe social development, social transformation, social change, etc. Then again, the aim of this social action, if you see and if you refer, definitely it will be seen that it is to secure the social actions. Whatever changes the people have done, whatever efforts the people have made here before, we have to preserve it. We have to secure it. And therefore, I think if you remember the quotation of Dr. Babasaheb Ambedkar, उन्होंने बोला था कि मैंने जो अभी तक किया है वो काम मेरा अगर आगे ले जाना जा सकते हो तो लेके जाइए, लेकिन पीछे मत लेके जाइए. So this was the, I think, saying by Dr. Babasaheb Ambedkar. So likewise, the aim of social action is the same. We have to secure the social actions taken by the previous people, or maybe social reformers, maybe social work professionals. I think many people have made contribution toward the social development, in which we can see the progress also, and we have to sustain it anyhow. So this is the aim of social action. So these are the things in common, I think, about the social action. Now, what we can do in regard to this, maybe individually, maybe in jointly, or maybe in the group. I think the activities or the avenues can be different in which we can do the same, definitely. First thing, again, we are making contradictions, wherein I think there is a need to concentrate by people like us. Social action, this is one of the methods of social work. We all people know, I think. But in earlier days, there was no classification between these methods, primary methods and secondary methods. Now, in some of the colleges, some of the social work educators, they are teaching as a primary methods and secondary methods. They are considering primary methods as casework, group work, and community organization, wherein they are considering secondary methods, that is social action, social work research, and public administration. Here, I have to say, I have to put my views. I think there is no need to classify these methods, because the importance which is having to this social action is tremendous. One side, we are thinking likewise that without action, we cannot see the changes. However, we are considering this method as a secondary method. So, whether there is a need to continue the same like previous, you can continue, but I think there is no need of, because this should consider as a primary or prime method of social work, because we are expecting change, transformation, and without the social action, it's difficult to see the changes. And therefore, I think we are making such contradictions. We should stop it by wherever the people are teaching likewise. Then this is neglected one method. We are focusing while teaching in our colleges, casework, group work, community organization. We are sufficiently teaching, and the students are practicing in the field about the same, whereas our teaching is very less, very minimum in regard to this social action. And in case of many of the students, many of social work professionals, they are not clear about the concept of social action, and therefore unless you are having, the professionals are having clarity about this concept, I think they will not be able to come forward to take actions. They are under fear how to go ahead, and therefore I think so this action should be focused, maybe during the teacher or teaching, or maybe during the fieldwork, so that the students can further days be ready, I think, to take actions and we can see the changes. So this can be the agenda for us to colleges, and definitely they can do better in this. Then a reduction of discrimination is one of the agenda, can be agenda for this social work professionals, because social disparity, social inequality, I think these are the terminologies we are using since many things, and this discrimination is also continued since long time. But through our social work, I don't think we are doing something in regard to this, so that the severity of this discrimination can be minimized. I think this kind of efforts are required to continue, or with the priority by the social work colleges, or maybe the students, or maybe the professionals. But unfortunately, this kind of reduction of discrimination is, I think, is not the agenda of the social work professionals. Any kind of uh, any ground, discrimination on any ground. एक मैं एग्जाम्पल आपको देना चाहता हूँ. स्टडी टूर के दरम्यान हम कुछ कॉलेजेस को विजिट किया और कुछ चर्चा करने की कोशिश की, और एट द सेम टाइम वी हैव ट्राइड टू स्पीक विद द विलेजर्स ऑन द ग्राउंड ऑफ दिस डिस्क्रिमिनेशन. तो हमने एक ही मुद्दा वहां पर उठाया था, जो ब्लैक स्किन और व्हाइट स्किन, इसी के संबंध में जो डिस्क्रिमिनेशन किया जाता है, वो पहले लोग क्यों करते थे वो छोड़ दो, अभी भी लोग क्यों करते हैं डिस्क्रिमिनेशन वो भी छोड़ दो, लेकिन हम उनको पूछा कि आप क्यों करते हो, आप ये फर्क क्यों करते हो ब्लैक एंड व्हाइट में. आई थिंक द आंसर फ्रॉम मेजॉरिटी ऑफ द पीपल वेर नो. उन किसी को भी पता नहीं खुद को कि मैं इसीलिए, इस कारण के लिए मैं ये डिफरेंशिएट करता हूं, किसी को भी पता नहीं है. Dear friends, let me tell you, so this is very dangerous thing. I think how the society influence. There is no teaching. I'm sure that no one is teaching that the children's in the family that you should differentiate likewise. We are not spending 1 minute on the same to teach the child. However, he or she differentiate in his life 100%. तो ये मुद्दों के ऊपर हमें बिल्कुल काम करने की जरूरत होती है, इंडिविजुअली या ज्वाइंटली कैसे भी करो. लेकिन बिकॉज देर आर मेनी विक्टिम्स ऑफ दिस स्किन एंड ब्लैक कलर, व्हेन दे कंपेयर, तो विक्टिमाइजेशन, वी कैन मिनिमाइज द विक्टिमाइजेशन बाय वर्किंग ऑन दिस रिडक्शन ऑफ डिस्क्रिमिनेशन. आई थिंक दीज आर द थिंग्स वी हैव kept aside, and there is no agenda of social work professionals to work on this. Then efforts towards structural changes in the society can be again the agenda for social work professionals, maybe individually, maybe in the group, or maybe jointly. Social structures, definitely social structure is changing, towards which we are not, I think, paying attention. Whatever existence of the society is there, accordingly we are going ahead. We are dealing with the people, we are dealing with the groups, we are dealing with the communities, no doubt in that. We are putting our efforts, but there are certain changes which are dangerous for the continuation of society. For example, I tell you one of the examples. If you refer the definition of society, it's very small definition, I think, by the Durkheim. The society is a web of social relationship. Society is a web of social relationship. Now, when we think about society, the relationship is at central. But what is the position? What is the plight of these social relations? I think I always say that the social relations in the society, maybe in the family, is already on the path of dilapidating. And many of the people, they are facing this issue because many of the families, you can see that there is no dialogue. Societies sometimes without dialogue, without communication, and if the same situation is continued for a long time, I think the existence of society will not be there, and therefore working on this, establishing proper relationship and sustaining those relationships is definitely the priority of the today's world, and this can be agenda for the social work professionals rather than spending time on any other casework, group work, and community organization. So that is definitely expected as a part of their training, but the thing should go beyond that. Whereas I think this thing is neglected. Then another thing we can see that there is a need to concentrate maybe jointly, maybe in the group or maybe individually, encouraging activism and advocacy. Means whatever I have experienced in regard to this activism and advocacy, the work is not going on to a great extent. It is a minimum extent, and therefore, if you wish to bring about changes in the society through social action, definitely this activism and advocacy work should encourage to a great extent. Because what is happening, whatever the activities the social work professionals they are conducting in their field, for some of the activities they are considering themselves as a activist. They are saying I am doing advocacy like that. But if you ask him what are the changes brought due to your efforts, I think the changes are very minimum, and therefore, so this is dangerous for uh, uh, the profession, and there is a need to change. For example, daring at the level of social work professional is missing. Confrontation is required when someone is doing advocacy and activism, definitely, but that is missing at the level of social work professionals. Then amplifying voice of the people, because activist is always works on behalf of people. He try to raise the voice of people. So likewise, that amplifying voice is also, I think, minimum. It is not reaching up to the authority, and therefore I think there is a need to concentrate, focus, maybe through the teaching, maybe through the fieldwork, or while taking actions also. Then only we can see the changes in our field, in our society. Otherwise, it is impossible. Then another agenda should be there. If you are like this, the student exchange program internationally, definitely there is a student exchange program, and within the state, within the country also, there are various student exchange programs, because our teaching is different many times. Pedagogy is also little difference. Inputs are little different difference. There is no similarity. But to make a better coverage of all these exposures, definitely we can start students exchange program by visiting some of the colleges, by sending our students, your students, to particular institutions where they will get a such kind of exposure, through which we can definitely see some of the changes. So this can be, I think, the agenda which is possible for all the colleges to send and invite the students for the same. Then interventions towards recognition of social work profession. I have attended yesterday's session, and Dr. Prashant has raised this kind of issue, because our profession is not yet recognized 100% or fully. Who is responsible for that? I think This is the time to introspect after 80 years, spending after 80 years, because no people will think who are in another profession. We should think about it, why the profession is not considering 100% like other professionals. इतना महत्व क्यों नहीं है ज्यादा, ये हमें आज इंट्रोस्पेक्शन, आत्म परीक्षण हम बोलते हैं, वो करने की बिल्कुल जरूरत होती है. सो दैट इज ऑल्सो आई थिंक मिसिंग at our level, maybe as an educator or at the level of professionals, because unless there will be a recognition for this profession, I think our contribution will not consider anywhere. And the next point for the same or in regard to that, maybe extent of social work contribution towards overall social development. Let me tell you, dear friends, I have thought more on this at least to some extent, because we are contributing, we are taking efforts since long back, and those contributions are leading for this overall social development, no doubt in that, because ours is a significant professions, so that covers all the gaps in the social development. That way we are contributing a lot. But unfortunately, let me tell you, dear friends, but we are unable to tell that what extent we are contributing, what is the portion of our contribution in overall social development. And I think so this can be, I think, one of the failures, because no one is having this answer, I'm sure, because we don't have that much data. And whatever contribution we are making, that contribution is mainly and mostly at local level, maybe in the district, maybe in the talukas or blocks, or maybe around the villages, and not more than that. Very few of the colleges, very few of the social work professionals, they are putting their efforts beyond the state, beyond the country, but they are exceptions. And I think this is the thing where there is a need to concentrate by people like us, and take efforts towards this, so that the prosperity in our society will not away from us, and we all are waiting for the same. And that if we do likewise, definitely the waiting for me, I think, in somewhere. I think these are the things from my side I have tried to put in front of you. Thanks once again for listening me, and given me an opportunity to put my views on this avenues for joint social action in social work. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir, for your wonderful words. Yes, definitely the points and the explanations you put it, these are towards the practical as well as the theoretical aspects of our today's social work and the principles of social work and the practices of the social work.
Yep.
So now as